Officer Robert Snow's encounter. In the world of law enforcement, officers are trained to face reality head-on, dealing with facts and logic. However, the experience of Officer Robert Snow, a member of the Indianapolis Police Department, challenges this notion with a brush with the unexplainable. The event took place in the late 1980s. Officer Snow, during a routine night patrol, noticed a car speeding recklessly through the city streets. Adhering to his duty, Snow initiated a pursuit. The chase led him to a dead-end street, a location seemingly impossible for the suspect's vehicle to escape unnoticed. But as Officer Snow reached the end of this street, he was met with a baffling sight. The car had completely disappeared. The street, offering no alternative exits and too narrow for a vehicle to slip past unnoticed, left Snow in a state of confusion and disbelief. He conducted a thorough search of the area, but found no trace of the vehicle or any clues to its mysterious disappearance. The intrigue deepened when Officer Snow shared his experience with fellow officers. To his surprise, he learned that his encounter wasn't unique. Other officers had reported similar chases ending in the same inexplicable manner, in the very same location. The common belief among them was that this was the ghost of a car involved in a deadly crash years before. This tale had woven itself into the fabric of local police folklore, often discussed but never resolved. This incident had a profound impact on Officer Snow, a man grounded in reason and practicality. He struggled to reconcile his experience with his understanding of reality, as no logical explanation seemed to fit. The incident lingered in his mind, a mix of skepticism and wonderment, challenging his beliefs in the tangible world. Officer Snow's story, a blend of the mundane and the mysterious, remains an unverified tale in the realm of paranormal experiences. While it invites skepticism, it also serves as a fascinating reminder that sometimes those who are most anchored in reality can face moments that defy all logic and explanation. This story, originally shared by Lissup on the Quora website, recounts a chilling tale within our county. Police officers who patrol our area have a belief in the supernatural. In the early 1970s, a horrifying plane crash occurred on the mountain, resulting in the tragic loss of all 95+ individuals on board. The air traffic controller had initially cleared the plane from the mountain's path, but it tragically wasn't flying at a sufficient altitude, leading to a devastating outcome. The guilt weighed heavily on the controller, ultimately leading to his tragic suicide. The plane's descent was catastrophic, as it struck the treetops, causing the aircraft's underbelly to tear open like a can of sardines, and the unfortunate passengers' bodies fell into the trees below. The plane continued its destructive path across the road until it collided with a massive boulder, finally coming to a stop. Among the residents living along that road, my uncle was one of the civilians who bravely assisted in the somber task of collecting and handling the scattered body parts. A friend of mine was dating a newly recruited police officer who had a spine-chilling experience during a routine patrol one fateful night. He confided in Linda, recounting how he was en route to the crash site when a group of people suddenly burst onto the road, their bodies covered in blood, and they were wildly waving their arms. Concerned and perplexed, he halted his vehicle and inquired about the situation. One of the bloodied figures urgently exclaimed, "There's been a plane crash, and we need help." Swiftly, he called the police dispatch and began describing the eerie scene to the operator. However, as he was reporting the incident on the phone, he glanced up, only to find that the mysterious group had inexplicably vanished into thin air. Stunned and bewildered, he incredulously stated, "You won't believe this, but I'm en route .. and a group of bloody individuals appeared, claiming there was a plane crash. But they just disappeared. I can't explain it, but they're no longer here." To his astonishment, the dispatcher calmly replied, "Yes, I do believe you. You're not the first officer to report such an occurrence, and your account is now officially on record." Still shaken, he expressed his confusion to the dispatcher, who went on to explain the infamous plane crash from the 1970s and informed him about the various police and civilian reports of similar sightings over the years. This unsettling true story continues to baffle and haunt those who hear it. Officer James Collins and the Chicago Phantom. In the autumn of 1996, Officer James Collins, a seasoned member of the Chicago Police Department, encountered an incident that profoundly challenged his grounded worldview. Responding to a call in a storied Chicago neighborhood, Collins anticipated uncovering a practical explanation for reports of a mysterious figure leaping between rooftops. His logical mind readied itself for the mundane, perhaps a mischievous prankster or an agile burglar. However, upon his arrival, the scene that unfolded before Collins defied his every expectation. He was met with an eerie sight, a figure standing atop a building. This was no ordinary trespasser. The figure bore an uncanny, almost spectral presence. It was humanoid in form, but strikingly tall, its silhouette shrouded in the obscure gloom of the night. In a moment that seemed to rupture the very fabric of reality, the figure executed a prodigious leap, traversing an impossible distance to an adjacent building. This astounding feat, bordering on the supernatural, transcended human limitations. Collins, alongside a handful of astounded eyewitnesses, could only watch in a mix of awe and disbelief as the figure dissolved into the shadows of the night. The surreal quality of the event left them grappling with a cocktail of emotions: shock, disbelief, and an unsettling sense of wonder. Compelled by duty and perturbed by curiosity, Collins documented the occurrence in an official report. This account would later merge with a tapestry of similar sightings across Chicago, collectively christened the Chicago Phantom episodes. These sightings captivated the city, igniting a flurry of media coverage and public speculation. Theories abounded, ranging from the conceivable to the fantastic, encompassing speculations of an elusive new species to ghostly apparitions. In the aftermath, Officer Collins found himself at a personal crossroads. Known for his reliance on empirical evidence and logical deduction, he faced an internal struggle. The experience had planted seeds of doubt in his previously unshakable skepticism. Publicly, in interviews and discussions, Collins conveyed a sense of disconcerted fascination. The encounter had etched a lasting impression, gently nudging him to acknowledge the potential existence of phenomena residing beyond the purview of conventional scientific explanation. The account of Officer Collins and the Chicago Phantom remains emblematic of the myriad unexplained experiences reported by law enforcement officers. Narratives such as these, while enthralling and often shared with earnest conviction, escape empirical validation. Thus, they reside in the realm of urban folklore and enigmatic mysteries, captivating yet unconfirmed, stirring the imagination and inviting endless speculation. Joshua recounted a spine-chilling tale from Quora involving his best friend's father, a police officer assigned to patrol a military base in the early 2000s. This base included an elementary school equipped with a highly responsive alarm system that activated whenever anyone entered and triggered it. One ominous night, Joshua's friend's father, whom we'll refer to as Jack, was on duty with his partner around 3 a.m. when they heard the alarm sounding from the elementary school. Without hesitation, they entered the school, meticulously inspecting all the rooms, yet they found no signs of intruders. Puzzled but cautious, they exited the building. Just 5 minutes later, the alarm blared once more, raising their anxiety levels. They re-entered the school and again found nothing amiss. When the alarm sounded a third time, unease gripped them, as such events were entirely outside their usual experience. Their fellow officers had jestingly warned them to avoid the elementary school during nighttime patrols, and now they began to understand why. With a sense of trepidation, both Jack and his partner ventured into the school together, methodically searching every room, hallway, and corridor. As Jack reached the end of a long hallway lined with classroom doors on both sides, he heard an unsettling sound. reminiscent of a small animal scurrying behind him. He stood alone in this section of the corridor, and when he turned around, he was confronted with a horrifying sight. In Jack's own words, he described witnessing a toddler, inexplicably drenched in blood, darting across the hallway. The child abruptly halted, locked eyes with Jack, let out an eerie laugh, and then swiftly entered the nearest classroom. Jack stood there, paralyzed with fear, unable to move or even shift his gaze for what seemed like an eternity. Overwhelmed by terror, Jack fled the scene, screaming in sheer panic. Later, once safely outside, he recounted the harrowing encounter to his partner. Fortunately, Jack was relieved from patrolling duty at the school for the foreseeable future, and both officers made an unwavering vow never to return to that eerie place. This hair-raising incident has left an indelible mark on their memories and continues to haunt them to this day. The Hampton Court Ghost Encounter. In the heart of Greater London lies Hampton Court Palace, a historic royal residence steeped in centuries of history and shrouded in tales of the paranormal. Among its most famous spectral legends is that of Catherine Howard, a tragic figure from the era of King Henry VII. It was within this atmospheric setting that a security officer, known for his pragmatic approach to life, experienced an incident that profoundly challenged his skepticism. During a routine night shift, an event unfolded that would leave an indelible mark on his rational perspective. While monitoring the palace's CCTV system, the officer observed something inexplicable. The cameras, which were fixed on one of the palace's courtyards, displayed doors opening and closing autonomously, with no discernible cause or presence. Driven by a mix of curiosity and concern for a security breach, the officer promptly set out to investigate. The scene he encountered upon arrival was as mystifying as it was unsettling. The courtyard, which moments ago displayed such unusual activity, now lay in an eerie stillness. The doors that had been captured moving on camera were now immobile, and the area was devoid of any signs of human presence or intrusion. As he stood there, the atmosphere of the palace, renowned for its spectral ambience, seemed to intensify. A chill pervaded the air, and the officer experienced an overwhelming sense of dread, a feeling uncharacteristic for a man of his rational disposition. This experience led him to delve into the historical tapestry of Hampton Court Palace, uncovering its rich legacy of ghost stories and unexplained occurrences. He learned of the numerous accounts of apparitions clad in Tudor attire and strange, disembodied noises echoing through the halls, narratives that mirrored his own encounter. The security officer, once a staunch skeptic of anything beyond the realm of scientific explanation, found himself at a crossroads. The incident at Hampton Court had shaken the foundations of his disbelief. Unable to rationalize what he had seen and felt, he was left with a sense of wonder and apprehension. The Hampton Court ghost story, as recounted by this officer, joins the annals of paranormal folklore. While tales like these captivate and intrigue, often relayed with sincerity, they exist outside the scope of empirical proof. They linger in the realm of speculation and intrigue, continuing to fascinate those drawn to the mysteries of the paranormal. This story is shared on Quora. My father, now retired, served as a police officer in Bihar. He shared many intriguing stories from his career, but one particular tale has always stayed with me. During his tenure, he was stationed in a district near the Bengal border, where a highway connected the eastern part of India to Bangladesh. One winter, he started receiving an unusual number of complaints about trucks veering off the road and several accidents occurring. Initially, he dismissed these incidents, attributing them to the weather conditions and the prevalent fog. Since there were no fatalities resulting from these accidents, they didn't raise much concern. However, as summer approached, the complaints of frequent accidents persisted. This piqued my father's curiosity. By that time, a few computer operators had joined his team. So he assigned them the task of gathering data from the past few years to determine if there was any correlation between the season and the accidents. To his surprise, the data showed little variation in the accident numbers based on the season. One intriguing detail did emerge from the data, though. All accidents occurred within a 100-meter stretch of the highway, precisely where the road ran straight. Oddly enough, there was a bend in the road 300 to 400 meters back, which logically should have been the hotspot for accidents. Moreover, the incidents exclusively involved trucks, with no reported mishaps involving cars or jeeps. Another puzzling aspect was that these accidents primarily occurred between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. This perplexing pattern led my father to set up surveillance at the reported location for a few days. A temporary police booth was erected just before the bend in the road to monitor the area and deter any further accidents. According to the law, truckers who veered off the road outside designated areas could be fined or even arrested. Luck was on his side as, on the very first day of observation, a truck went off the road at the same spot. When his subordinates brought the driver in for questioning, they discovered that the driver was drunk and completely uncooperative, claiming not to remember anything and suggesting he might have dozed off. This response was somewhat expected from the police's perspective. However, over the next 15 days, more than 20 similar incidents occurred, and almost every driver had the same explanation for their accidents. They claimed to have suddenly spotted 5 to 6 teenage girls on bicycles right in front of their trucks. To avoid a collision, they had slammed on their brakes, resulting in some vehicles skidding off the road. Initially, my father was skeptical of this story, suspecting that the drivers were fabricating it to avoid fines. But as nearly everyone recounted the same narrative, he had no choice but to consider its validity. Digging deeper, he searched for old case files related to the area and was surprised to find records of a tragic incident in the past. This incident had occurred at the exact spot where the accidents were now happening. A speeding truck had tragically struck down several schoolgirls who were riding their bicycles, creating a haunting connection to the mysterious appearances reported by the truck drivers.